DC might have left this next superhero movie in complete shambles, and it's entirely their fault. With the recent announcement of the complete changes to the DC Extended Universe, many people are wondering what's going to happen to the already announced Aquaman 2 and Shazam 2. These films weren't anywhere on DC's future slates, so it was all but confirmed that these two characters would no longer be a part of the universe going forward. This is completely fine, as James Gunn and Peter Safran's vision for the DC Universe is completely changed. No longer are we going to be getting every big name in the business.
They said the age of heroes would never come again.
We're going for much smaller scale characters that people don't exactly know. Yeah, we're still getting Batman and Superman, but the Justice League is years off. The problem, though, is that DC has basically left their few films set to release in the dust, as no one really cares about them. Following the rebranding, viewership and attention on Aquaman and Shazam have completely dwindled, leaving these two upcoming films in despair. DC has changed a lot over the last few months, but the fact that they just let these films rot is kind of weird. The first Shazam movie was pretty good, as Zachary Levi completely embodied the character. I mean, he put so much effort into becoming the character, you really have to give him praise for it. However, Shazam 2 has met many delays and even reshoots over the last few years. The film looks like a complete mess from its trailers as well, and it's said to have one of the worst box office projections for DC.
I have to do this.
We end this now!
Yeah, we do.
The first Shazam movie had a domestic opening weekend back in 2019 of $53.5 million, which is the current projection for Shazam: Fury of the Gods, as it is in the $43 million to $52 million range. The original Shazam went on to gain a total of $140 million domestically and over $366 million globally. This was amazing for DC at the time, and it showed how Shazam might be a moneymaker going forward. Nowadays, though, it makes so much sense why the movie isn't going to do great at the box office. Even though this film could be the new DC Extended Universe canon, these support projections are going to put a damper on the movie overall. The first film didn't do extremely well at the box office, as Avengers Endgame cut the legs of Shazam short. But for what the film was, it was actually really good and earned a good amount of money, leading to a sequel. The problem, though, is that DC really doesn't care about Shazam anymore, and you can tell by their marketing. They let the Flash trailer come out before the Shazam trailer, even though Shazam is going to come out first. We then have the fact that the marketing overall has been pretty poor, as only one trailer consistently plays online.
I don't know how we fight powers like this.
I can't do this. Take my powers back. You gave them to me so you could take them back, right?
There were barely any interviews with the cast, and overall it just seems like they don't care. Shazam 2 is in complete despair. But what does this mean for Shazam 3 later down the line? As James Gunn and Peter Safran are moving away from the old style of the DC Extended Universe, the creators have announced various new projects. We already know that James Gunn is good at bringing in characters people don't really know to the mainstream, and he's doing the same thing with DC. From projects such as Creature Commandos to Swamp Things, it looks like James Gunn is going down a completely different path with his new DC universe. The thing is, though, that doesn't mean that he's getting away from DC as a whole, as both Superman and Batman are entering this new universe. They will, of course, be different versions of these characters, but nonetheless, these big names are still coming through. Because of this, the Justice League is basically inevitable, meaning that Shazam will probably come back at some point in the future. The question is Zachary Levi going to be the one playing the character, or will we be getting a completely new actor in the next few years? When asked about Shazam as a whole, Gunn said himself that Shazam's corner of the DC universe was pretty much self-contained. But honestly, he's not exactly right, as Superman is referenced constantly all the time, and he even appears during the ending of Shazam 1. Yeah, you might say that's just a little gag, and doesn't really affect the story much, but it still shows that Shazam is a big part of the universe. In James Gunn's mind, though, all of these serve as Easter eggs in DC, meaning that Shazam could be heading the way as Henry Cavill's Superman. Henry Cavill as Superman had an insanely huge following, even if people weren't the biggest fans of his performance in Man of Steel and Justice League. Despite it all, though, people loved him for the most part and wanted to see him get another chance at the character with a brand new director. With the ending of Black Adam, people thought we would finally be getting another Superman film, as the Man of Steel 2 was also supposedly being written. But all our hopes came crumbling down when Gunn and Safran's new approach to the DC Universe was announced. They announced that a new Man of Steel reboot will be coming out with the title Superman Legacy, as a whole new character will be taking on the role of Clark Kent and Superman. It was absolutely heartbreaking, wasn't it? We just wanted to see Henry Cavill back, gosh darn it, but I guess Gunn has a different thing in mind. It looks like James Gunn and Peter Safran are going to try to reset everything and only bring across the bare minimum that they need to please DC execs. Shazam might be in its own corner of the DC universe and has little effect on the wider story, but we don't think Zachary Levi is coming back. It's a real shame as well, as he is so good at the character and we love him so much. This, coupled with the projections of the box office numbers and their likelihood of DC carrying on Shazam with Zachary Levi, is very low. We do assume that Shazam will come back in the future, though, with a new actor and a new storyline.
Save the world.
But it's safe to say that he probably isn't coming back to the role anytime soon. But does this make sense? We could wrap up today's video here, but there's one thing we really need to talk about, and that's the fact that some characters might be brought over into the new DC universe. We already know that some Elseworlds stories are being continued, such as Batman and of course Joker, but Wonder Woman might be being brought over as well as Blue Beetle. Wonder Woman is getting her own television series based on the early stages of her people, and Blue Beetle might be being brought into the next universe after his film comes out. It seems like a bit of a double standard to me, right? Is James Gunn just picking and choosing what he brings over? Or does DC have some sort of thing behind the scenes? DC has a history of meddling in the background of some directors, and maybe Gunn is just pushing past it in order to take control. It's definitely a weird situation. I guess we won't really know, but either way, it's still sad to see Zachary Levi most likely not come back to the role. But what do you think about all of this? Please let us know in the comments below. We hope you enjoyed today's video.